Welcome to the Interior Design Beat podcast, where you will hear candid commentary on various interior design subjects and topics, including the good, the bad, and the ugly, telling you like it really is. Hello, this is interior designer Steve Adamco and the owner and founder of Spectrum Interiors, plus the host and producer of the Interior Design Beat podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about color trends and the color of the year. Every time I see the color of the year come up, I have two responses. Either, wow, that's a great color, or I can't believe they chose that color for color of the year. Color of the whole year, 365 days. Are you kidding me? And sometimes it's not even a color, it's a neutral. I think the Greeks and the Romans would be laughing. Like, is that a color? You think that's a color? So we've got these proposed gurus from Pantone, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and all the others that supposedly have this insight and awareness of how to choose the color of the year based on all the things that are going on in the world. Now, Pantone is a company that's known for its color matching system. So it's easy for industries and graphic designers and fashion designers and product designers and printers to reference colors that are systematically identified. In other words, you can specify precisely a color. So they're not a paint company, so to speak, like Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and others like that. They each, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and others, come out with their color of the year as well. It doesn't mean it's going to be a Pantone color. But anyway, that's always kind of the big deal. But Pantone generally services businesses and product development and things like luggage and dresses and graphic design and things like that, where they can tightly specify a color. It's kind of like GPS in a way. So it tells you the exact coordinates, if you will, of a particular color. And since color is defined in at least three attributes, you've got hue, which is the color, value, which is how light or dark it is, intensity, which is, how bright it is, or dull. And then you've got certain things like sheen, gloss, other things that factor in and affect how a color is perceived to the human eye. So Pantone has a color deck or a fan deck like you would see in a paint store, just like Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore do. And every Pantone color has a number attached to it. So if you say, I want this to match Pantone 107, yellow, you're going to get that exactly because it's a standardized approach, which is good. It's very important to be able to specify a color exactly for a lot of different applications. So when it comes to the Pantone color of the year, you've got clothing companies that you can use it, makeup companies, cake companies, graphic designers. Certain companies will incorporate color of the year into products and decorative things. Interior designers can suggest the color of the year to their clients, and merchandising companies can also incorporate that into their products. So it's really for a lot of consumer products and whatnot. So the Pantone color is called Very Peri, and it's kind of like a blue-violet, periwinkle kind of color. It's a nice color. They've had other colors that were very nice as well. Then some colors that are like, gray, okay? And it's like, well, who really wants to have gray? Because gray is, it's like a gray day, not a sunny day. So sometimes they pick colors that are really, for all practical purposes, they're really neutrals. They aren't really colors. Because if you take a color and it's complementary and mix them together, you're going to get a neutral gray. That's what the result of it is. So lighter colors will be a lighter gray, darker colors will be a darker gray. But anyway, they neutralize each other. And so they gray out. So some colors are something that you can get excited about, other times not so much. So normally Pantone has selected a color that's already in their color palette system. I think they have over 2,000 colors. This time they created a color, especially for 2022. So the vice president of the Pantone Color Institute said creating a new color for the first time in the history of our Pantone Color of the Year educational color program reflects the global innovation and transformation taking place. So they seem to think that this color represents the world we live in right now. Sometimes they have one color of the year and sometimes two. And let's say Pantone's 2020 color of the year, they say, is a hue we can always rely on in uncertain times. And it was classic blue is what they called it. And in 2020, Pantone predicted that classic blue will turn up in all sorts of ways in our daily lives over the next 12 months, from fashion and beauty items to home decor, product packaging, even food. Well, again, how many colors are there in a rainbow? How many colors are in the color spectrum? All different colors, all the colors show up in our daily lives over the next 12 months. So sometimes it gets a little ridiculous that, this is going to be it. This is the epitome. This is the color that's representative of the year we're going through. And so we got these gurus sitting on the top of the mountain believing that, oh my gosh, this is what is encompassing and culminating, and this color compresses everything into one color choice. This is it. This is the representative. And then I'm thinking, how many different nationalities do we have around the world? And color impacts them differently. So anyway, I guess maybe it's mostly for America, possibly, but still, America has a lot of different people in it, a lot of different cultures, and different cultures look at color a different way. Some of them are very celebratory and very open with their color choices. And then we know a lot of people are extremely reserved, okay? So if color of the year is gray, then let's just say we had flowers popping up in gray and somebody says, oh, that is a beautiful flower, those bouquet of gray flowers. Oh, that is just awesome. Not. That happens when you're colorblind, okay? You see the world in blacks and grays and whites. Not the happiest time, I don't think. Before I get too deep into this discussion, I want to make a point here. 5 of the paint companies have chosen the same type of green for their color of the year. A 6th one has a greener green than the other 5. But the 5 have greens that are grayed down. In other words, they've been neutralized. So they're grayed greens. So, or I'm going to refer to them as grays. So just so you don't get confused. So moving on to some of the other companies that deal with paints, Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore. Let's take Sherwin-Williams. Their color of the year for 2022 is a color called Evergreen Fog. It's a gray, a little bit lighter than a medium gray, but they say it's soothing, subtle, and a perfect shade to freshen up any space. Well, any space, huh? I guess, is it appropriate for every space or any space? Well, it could be. It's a neutral. It's not really a color. So, like I say, if you were to say, get a bouquet of flowers and say, wow, this is color of the year. Do you have any flowers in Evergreen Fog? And they have to be fake, obviously. You'd never find any real flowers in that. But could you imagine giving someone a bouquet of flowers and in the gray of Evergreen Fog? Oh, I got you some Evergreen Fog flowers. Or I got you some roses in Evergreen Fog. I decided to get it in Evergreen Fog. I mean, you think, what the heck? All right. Then we get to Benjamin Moore. Their color of the year is called October Mist. It is a gray, a lighter gray above mid gray. And they say that it evokes the silver green stem of a flower. October mist creates a canvas for other colors and your imagination to blossom. Well, again, here your walls are covering the greatest amount of surface area. Your floor mirrors your ceiling in terms of surface area, but your walls are quite large compared to those two. So you're going to be seeing that everywhere. Nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of a greenish gray. But when they show a dab of the color, it looks more like a slight silvery gray. But anyway, all these colors change when you print them on paper, when you see them on a computer screen, when you view them in different lighting conditions, when you view it at your house. How does this look when you're surrounded by trees? How does it look when you don't have any trees around? All these things where light filters through green leaves and you're in a shaded wood or you're in an open area changes the dynamics of everything. And what color bounces off the outside into your room through the windows, that also tints and shades the room and affects the color. So nothing stands in and of itself. There's always this relatedness that you need to be cognizant of. And that's why you need to look at these colors in all kinds of different lighting conditions and in the way they're going to be viewed. Like if it's vertical, if on an angle, if it's on the ceiling, if it's on an angled wall, you got to look at it from that angle. You got to look at it when it's facing this way, facing that way, facing the windows, not facing the windows. It's all going to change. Now, before that, Benjamin Moore in 2021 selected what they call Aegean Teal. So it's kind of a teal color, lighter teal color, but it's not, teal is, you can look at it in totally different ways. What they call it is the romantic name, so to speak. They always want to romanticize the color. If you look at Color Wheel or maybe a Pantone system or any other Munsell color system, any other color system that kind of defines color via hue or the color, value, how light or dark it is, and intensity, how bright or vibrant or brilliant it is. And then, of course, every color changes depending on whether it's matte, semi-gloss, gloss, all that changes. And then the surface texture of what it is you're painting affects that too, whether it's smooth or whether it's rough. Because when it's rough, there are more shadows that are formed, so the color looks darker. If it's painted on a smoother surface, the color looks lighter. And then again, how you light that is an important element in creating an interior. But I wanted to just take three major companies, two paint companies and of course Pantone, who has a color system, and kind of go over these color trends. And they're really nothing but trends. People think that they can prophesy, so to speak, what the color is going to be. And they do this, months in advance. And a lot of people, a lot of companies get on the same bandwagon, like, okay, this is a color trend. But, really, there's a lot of them that you look at and say, I don't really like that. And then maybe you wait 5, 10, 15 years until a color comes around, color of the year comes around where you say, oh, I really like that, but I had to wait 15 years. No, you don't. Pick your own. Okay, I'm always a big proponent of choose your own colors. Don't worry about the trends and the fads and all this. It just gets you in a bunch of trouble because it's going to be there for a while. And then the next hot thing is going to come along and then that's going to be passé. All right. Why do that? If you're going to do something, I guess if you're going to buy a bicycle in that new trend, color trend of whatever year, then go ahead. But when you're going to be living it like surrounded on your walls and whatnot, and in big expanses of other things, you may not like that. So you've got to look at it in concert as an orchestrated part. And like I say, it's a part. It's just a component of the whole interior design scheme or the dynamics. It's just like a piece of music. Okay. It's just a part. It's just a part. And you color things. It's kind of like, well, this note is an E, but it's going to be an E sharp or an E flat. So you're actually taking that note and you're coloring it, or you're putting a vibrato on it, or you're bending the note. You're coloring it, you're modifying it, you're doing all these things. But, there's got to be a feeling of, what are we going to go for here? How does this fit with the total scope of what we're trying to accomplish? And that gets into, again, the importance of having a concept. And the color is something that you can easily dial in at any time and precisely. So it's really the last thing you should consider in terms of walls. I mean, things that are dyed, like fabrics and furniture that comes in a certain color or whatever, usually you are more limited. So you start, or even a rug, start with something that is more limited. And of course, you could have a rug that has lots of colors in it. So it's not really limited in the sense of being limited. But what I'm saying is that it may come in maybe 6 color combinations. So then you say you like one, then at the very end, when everything is done, rugs, draperies, upholstery, artwork, all those things, then you dial in the color exactly the way you want it and the way you need it, because it's a backdrop for all of those things most of the time. So anyway, that's why I want to keep plugging the fact that, do it your way, but at least be thoughtful about how you want to do it your way. Don't do it in a way that doesn't show any foresight or prior planning. Again, the 6 P's that I always enunciate: prior proper planning prevents poor performance, or a poor looking room, or you don't want an ugly looking room. You want something beautiful. So color, knowing how to handle it, is so important. Most people don't know how to handle color. They just follow the trends. It's like, well, you're still being a follower. You're not thinking. You're acting like somebody who doesn't understand things and following things that you don't understand, thinking that your leaders and your gurus are the ones that are going to lead you into the promised land. Well, they're not. They're not. Now you're going to see that 5 paint brands all pick the same color of the year, which is a green, but it's really a grade green. It's not the green as you would normally think of. It's more, grayed down. And one forecaster said that brands look at color from a psychological perspective, and the paint colors they choose tell a bigger story about consumer behavior. And as consumers, we are overstimulated and in need of more calming spaces, and earthy colors help us stay connected to nature even when we're indoors. Well, none of the colors are really what you would normally see outside. And in some cases, some of the leaves you would see colors similar. But nature by itself is typically more vibrant with the greens, and it works with all the colors in the world. So this consultant still goes on and says, not only is green closely tied to conversations about nature and sustainability, more recently, it's been trending in wellness. Consumers are prioritizing mental health and well-being, and greens are associated with self-care and nourishment. Well, to a degree, that is true, but there are also other colors that also nourish people's mental health and well-being. How about a bouquet of flowers? Okay. So anyway, a lot of these consultants and these people that do all this research spend years coming up with, the aggregate of what's happening in the world, everywhere around the world, and everything that's happening around the world. And this is the color that's indicative of what's happening in the world in the aggregate. I'm thinking like, wow, and you took all year to do that? So all these consultant forecasters are looking at what's trending here and there and everywhere else. And so they're looking at what's trending so they can come up with their own version of what's trending. It's like, come on, do what you want to do. Use the colors you want to use. But all these greens that come in, for the most part, they're all a grade down version of green. So when it comes to these paint colors, word of caution, never, ever pick your paint color first. Don't say, well, this is the trend. the color of the year. I'm going to do all of this, my whole house in the color of the year. And then you've got to find out whether your furniture and everything goes with it, or whether you're trying to find or buy new furniture or rugs or draperies to go with it. You're going to be in a world of hurt. I'm telling you. You don't start out from the most comprehensive element, or you don't start out with where you've got millions of selections you can choose from, and then go down to the ones where you might have maybe a handful of choices. You start with the parts where you maybe have one choice or a few choices, and you build it up from there based on what your concept is, based on what you want to try to promote. Have it tied with more than just a scheme. Have a reason for it being there. So important. I think people don't look enough at their lives or look introspectively enough to put together a combination of ideas and concepts and thoughts that they can put together as an orchestrated portrayal of who they are, and what they like to do, and an expression, a full-bodied expression of their personalities. It's like, don't get pushed around by just these so-called experts and gurus that are supposed to be the head of this and the head of that. By the time they get done, you think like, were they even thinking? I mean, I think most of it's ludicrous. I think if you're going to look at these color of the years, take it with a grain of salt, forget it. Don't even get encumbered and enmeshed in it. You know, you're just going to be like a fly in a spider web. You're just going to get caught in it. Don't get caught in it, because this same stuff goes on every time. They do it to promote their own stuff, their own thing, promote alliances and with other companies so that they can do this and do that. It's just another marketing ploy to try to create some excitement around their business. But paint is paint. You know, it's a background color. You can go in and get anything you want. It's in the big fan decks, or create a custom color of your choice, or bring in something from nature and match that, or whatever, or a fabric or what have you. You know, you can have it your own way is what I'm trying to tell you. Have it your own way, because there's immense amount of color that you can choose from all the different paint companies. I mean, take all the, let's say the 5 leading paint companies, look at their standard paint deck. I mean, it's pretty thick, a couple inches, you know, or maybe an inch and a half or whatever. All their colors. And if you don't like the greens from one, go to another, go to another, go to another. You got 5 different companies you can pick greens from. And then if you don't like that, then custom match, custom color, custom blend your own color. Just the way you want it, just the sheen that you want it, and whatever you want it. Oil-based, latex, whatever. Get what you want, for crying out loud. Have it your own way. Like, again, this color expert from Pantone Color Institute. She said, green is known to have a soothing, refreshing effect, especially in interiors, which is so important as we emerge from the pandemic. It is Mother Nature's most ubiquitous neutral color, working in tandem with every other color in the spectrum. Well, yes, it is. You know, it is, in a sense, the background color. It's not a neutral necessarily, but it is the background color that works with every other color, or works in tandem with every other color in the color spectrum for a reason. I mean, you know, it's that way for a reason. Leaves are green for a reason. All right. But, you know, this is pretty much known that this is like this, but a lot of times the paints never capture the richness of what you see in nature. They just don't. They're flat. Okay. It's a flat color. Unless you do something to break up the color, or mottled color or something like that, it creates more interest. It's just flat color. Okay. After a while, you can get bored with it by looking at the same thing. So again, consider it as a backdrop to make the other things that are hanging on it or are in front of it, including you, look their best. Okay. That's the purpose of it, is to create a background that makes everything else look fantastic and ties everything together. And it's like the thread that you don't see that gets woven through the backside of the fabric. It just kind of knits it together, if I could say it that way. So ever since Pantone began announcing Color of the Year, or COTY, COTY for short, in, I believe, 1999, the practice has kind of caught fire, so to speak. And more brands are forecasting and promoting their own unique color of the year shades. So this is the link they go to. One color company or paint company said, our color marketing team reviews trends in fashion, architecture, design, pop culture, travel, and many other areas, all of which help inspire the color forecast we ultimately land on. And she continues, each color of the year tells a story that's tied to the micro and macro trends we're seeing. Okay, so they're looking at trends so they can trend whatever they want to trend. And here's the links they go to. Representatives from Benjamin Moore spent months researching and traveling around the world. Then the next step is bringing that information back and determining what the common threads are between these different disciplines and areas of the world. So another one says the internet is a huge source of information and inspiration. We look at Pinterest to see what people are looking at for paint projects. And in the cosmetics industries, there's always a slew of fresh nail polish colors each season. So they look at that too. So then after crunching all the data and engaging in lively debate, the industry insiders want to get into their customers' heads and homes to help them make informed choices. How the hell are they going to do that? They're not interior designers. They're not in your home helping you make an informed choice. And they say, well, this empowers customers to consider colors they may not have found on their own. Oh my gosh, everything nowadays is got to empower you like a superhero. Oh, this color will empower you. Oh my gosh, we're getting oversaturated with this kind of lingo and language. Another senior color manager said, we've recognized that in today's anxious, technology-driven society, many of us are feeling overwhelmed and craving a sense of peace and reassurance. We discovered that everybody's feeling overwhelmed. Oh my God, we need peace and a reassurance. Well, that's what your family is there for, okay? Talk to somebody. It's like these things are like supposedly some magic scenario that's going to go, oh, this makes me not feel overwhelmed, and it gives me a peace and reassurance. It's like, well, maybe you need to go to a psychologist or psychiatrist. I don't know, but the way they talk about color is, yeah, it is very impactful, but it's not the only thing. There are materials and textures and the way things are designed and handled, and the lighting, for crying out loud. Without lighting, you don't see any color. So all of that is null and void. Without lighting, you've got nothing, okay? Sun being the primary light source. People, when they want to feel more alive and everything, get some sun. Your body needs it. But you can't see. Without sunlight, you don't see colors. When the light's off, you don't see anything. Everything's dark. You don't see colors. And then when the color changes, the intensity from morning till high noon to evening, the colors modify throughout the day. They're the brightest and most intense at midday. So come on, people, talk about other things that are the precursor of color, which is light. Color is in the light. That's why you see a rainbow. When the sun comes out after it's rained, that's why a prism breaks the sunlight into prismatic colors. All right. So we need to get a clue here and start realizing that it's the combination of things that make things work, not just one little thing. But if there is one little thing that makes the world go round, it's the sun and the light from the sun. Without it, we'd be in a terrible mess, in a terrible world without the beauty of color and the radiance of everything that we see. Well, all right. That wraps up this podcast on color of the year trends. We'll have more to talk about color here in upcoming podcasts because color is a very interesting subject and it affects you mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and even physically. So it's an important element. But like I said, it's an element. It's part of the whole package. So anyway, hope you have a great day, great week, and we'll talk to you soon.